day, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. You are at Sow and Tare live chat. We do this every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And if you're new to the channel, welcome, and I'll let you know how we do this. So if you have any questions or topics of discussion you'd like to discuss in the homestead realm of topics, go ahead and put it in the comments, and we'll go through and we'll get to your comment or question. And so we're going to start off by saying the hellos, because everybody's on set to do some of the more content, answering questions as we go. And at some point in the middle, I have a topic of discussion, which probably many of you already know what it is. All right. So hello and welcome. Let's see who was here before me. Hey, Steve says first like. Hi, Steve. Welcome. Phaedros, welcome. Second like. Shush. Why are you shushing? Mid-South Sweets is here. Third like. Oh my gosh, you guys don't have to say how many likes you are, but thank you for the likes. Welcome. Feather and Shell's here. Fourth like. Getting tired. Got it. Uh-oh. Feather and Shell and Erica are both fourth. I don't know what to do with that. Welcome, Erica. Steve, you're funny. Feather and Shell says, great. Hello. Erica says hi. Dawn says, I was the first like yesterday. LOL. Yeah, Dawn, when you come on so early, I don't even see your comments. I think it yeah, Dawn is the early bird, Feather and Shell says. Yep. Steve, we know who you are. Feels like normal. All right, Steve. Yeah, Dawn, that was Steve. All right, Verna's here. Welcome, Verna. Verna is in blue. She catches the bad guys. She's my moderator. If you are interested in self-sufficient living and raising quail or cuy in an apartment setting, that's what she does. So check out her channel. She does a live on Saturday mornings. Saying hello. Everybody's saying hi. Andy Rabbit's here. Hello. Hi, Andy. All right. Everybody's saying hi. Goodness. That's all before I was here. Yeah, Steve, we're going to wait on that update. He needs caffeine. Oh, you got a nap? You're staying up all night? Hey, Gudros is here. Hey, friends. How you doing, Christina? I hope you're doing well. I saw your videos today. Well, I saw part of them. I didn't see all of them yet. Hey, Buster's here. Hi to all. Welcome, Buster. All right. PJ's is here early. Hey, she says. Hi, PJ. Steve, I'm going to wait a little bit. Steve's back. Douglas is here. Hi, Douglas. Welcome. If you have any questions, and we'll get to it in order. Ed's here. Hi, everyone. Hi, Ed. I have not watched those videos yet that you put in the Facebook thing. I need to, because Ed is our wonderful crafter. If you have any crafting questions, he's the one to ask. Aaron says, "Oh, Katrina, you can start. I'm here now." Welcome, Aaron. All right. Ed says 12th like. Goodness. Jennifer's here. Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome. And Bob's here. Welcome. All right. Videos took forever today. So, Christina, now you understand how long they take, right? Oh my gosh, Ed, we don't need to know that. Joy's here from Western Oregon. Welcome, Joy. QuailCon, Verna says. Yes, QuailCon is coming up, and it is September 2nd and 3rd of this year, and next year, and the year after that. Come on, 3rd annual, right? I will be giving a masterclass on aviaries, raising them in aviaries. Verna is Vay's place. She's going to be giving a masterclass on intro to quail, intro to raising quail, and Linda is going to, may or may not pop on here, from Quail University, is going to be doing a masterclass on marketing. She is the marketing extraordinaire. Ed's going to be sharing his craft secrets, and Aaron is going to be helping people learn how to butcher. And as people come on that are involved, I will try and give them shout outs to that. Yeah. You should go. You should go. Only 40 days to QuailCon. Wow. Yep, it's coming. There's still tickets left. If you need tickets, go on MyShire's website, myshireithink.com, and they have tickets. Douglas says, I'm working hard at building my quail and rabbit barns. Finally got my 8 acres. It is a struggle alone and with ongoing health issues. Well, I am proud of you that you are doing it. It's awesome. And if you have any questions, this community is a great community and you can get some good answers. Bob says, question, does anyone ever treat their birds for parasites or mites? And can do. I don't do it to treat anything. I just do it because I get them. I still have 3 pumpkins. So Thanksgiving time, Halloween time, it's a good idea to put out in your community, hey, if you don't have pumpkins that you don't need, I'll take them, because the quail will eat it. The chickens will eat it. Like, they love pumpkin. And pumpkin is a natural dewormer. So if you suspect something's going on, or you just kind of regularly every once in a while give your quail pumpkin, it's tasty and it's a dewormer. I have no idea if it's like 100% or 50%. I have no idea what that is. I just know that it is known for a dewormer. And then mites. So I have not experienced this. However, I know people who have, and the advice that is given for mites that are already an infestation is to get DE, it's diatomaceous earth. I'm clicking here. DE, I don't know if I can spell it right. Diatomaceous earth. Yeah, it's going to want me to respell that. Let's see if it can. No, spell check doesn't even know it. I think that's how you spell it. And that is something that you do want to be very careful with. Diatomaceous earth is little, so that's the diatom part of the diatomaceous, and they are specific to, there's individual species per water body. So a lot of like crime, they're specific to water body locations. So that's interesting, right? So they're actually little tiny crustacean things. I don't know if they're crustaceans or if they're some other thing, but the calcium, or the shell, is what is advantageous, what we use to be advantageous. And what that does is it's sharp. It's like glass. And insects and arachnids have an external skeleton, right? They don't have an internal skeleton like us. They're goo inside, right? They're muscles and goo, and just, you squash a spider or cockroach or something, it splats. So their skeleton is not really real skeleton, but it's on the outside. And what the diatomaceous earth does is it acts like little shards of glass and cuts them. So they're walking through something. That's why people put it on plants that, like, even the soft-bodied, like caterpillars, that would cut them pretty bad. And so that's how people get rid of it. But diatomaceous earth is also very, I'm going to back up. Birds are very sensitive. Their airways are very sensitive. Their lungs are very sensitive. You've heard of canary in the coal mine, right? So the canary in the coal mine is a warning. The miners would bring a canary with them in a little cage into the coal mines, so that if the toxic gases started to happen, they would know, because the canary would die. So birds have that effect before people. So it is important to keep that in mind when using diatomaceous earth, because diatomaceous earth becomes a dust. They're so small, they're so tiny. It's like a dust, and it can be breathed. And it then is like fiberglass in the lungs. So some people put diatomaceous earth into dust baths. I wouldn't do that. If you're concerned about it, maybe you put a small amount, but I'm not going to recommend that. I will tell you that people do that, but it is a risk for your birds. What people do that is better for mites is to put diatomaceous earth into like a pantyhose and, knot it up, into the toe of a pantyhose, and take your bird. And mites generally, we're talking bird mites usually, right? Bird mites, which I got on myself at a job site once, and it was terrible. And I thought I was going to bring them home. Oh my gosh. Creepy. Creepy. I reached into a nest to take it down because it was done developing. The birds have flown away. And I did this. And as I did this, like just little tiny bugs just went all the way down my arm, and I couldn't feel it, but I could see it. It was nasty. They hosed me off. Anyway, side note. So diatomaceous earth can help, but you want to keep it out of their airway. So what people have done is to take pantyhose and put it in there, and then take your bird, and generally where the infestation is centralized is around the vent. So they take the bird, flip it over, and powder where the mites are. So if you think about like a lady powdering her face, those, I don't know, I don't wear makeup, but those old videos that have this big powder thing, they just poof it, it's like that. But there is thank you, Bob, exoskeleton. It is a skeleton of sorts. And if you do that directly, you have less chance of it getting into the bird's airway and lungs. So that would be one thing that I know works directly applied. As far as, I believe your other question last night was about ticks, and I have not ever heard of them getting ticks. They are pretty good at preening. If anybody has tips on that, that would be something. I do have one other thing, but that would be something to share, because this is something that I don't experience personally. So I wanted to bring that community to have this conversation. Something for ticks that you have an aviary, right? So if you have ticks in your area, what you can do is you can keep the grass or the ground or all of the stuff that's growing next to your aviary. You can keep that very low. And all of that, and you'll have less chance of them actually getting into the aviary. So I know people who live in tick country, they will take a sheet, like a white sheet with a board on it, and you wrap it around one side. You have like a 2x4 board, and they'll actually drag it across an area. And you could do that across a mowed area. You could do that across an unmowed area. It'd probably work better when the grass is lower. And they actually just kind of walk with it, and that picks up ticks. And then, you could probably feed ticks to the quail. They're very good at getting spiders and bugs and ants and stuff. Now, do it supervised if you're actually bringing them into the system. But that would be a way that you can actually pick up the ticks that are in that area, and then prevent them from coming in. So ticks like vegetation, and they like, kind of taller vegetation. So they're going to be, I've seen them like on the edges of trails where they're hanging on to pieces of grass with one side, with like usually their back legs, and then their other legs are like this. And if I believe they pick up on the carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, whatever you breathe out. And also movement, and they'll actually go and they'll just grab on. So, so let's see what other people have to say. But that's my suggestion, is to use DE as like a contact, a powdered thing. Some people do use it in their sand baths, but if you go that route, I would not do that as a preventative, for sure, because that is a danger to your bird's lungs or airways. And so I would personally not do that, know why, and you can make an informed decision. So that's something to think about, is whenever you have your own animals, your own plants, whatever, as long as you have the information, you can make an informed decision. So you may decide to do that and then know that that's a risk that you're taking, and it may or may not ever have an issue. So let's see what other people say. Hopefully that was a good answer. Okay, I'm scrolling back up. All right, JJ's here. Hi, JJ. Hi, all. Tell everyone but Ed, QuailCon 40 days. Ed's busy. Verna put the QuailCon link. Chad says, I was suggested to come here for that reason. Yeah, for what Bob said. Yep. So hopefully that discussion, and that I was directing my answer to you because I knew that you're going to be the one that asked that. So hopefully my answer was good, and we'll see what other people are doing who may be in that situation. And then also, if you have an active infestation, I mean, that would be, the powder. And then, yeah, let's see what other people say. Steve is practicing procrastination like I need to practice. That means you're doing something, right? Right. Chad says, what's safe to kill insects in an aviary? So I looked at this when I did the, Verna says, what kind of insects? And that's a really, really good question, because insects in an aviary is generally fine unless they're, the type of insect that is a problem insect, because especially with the quail, they eat all sorts of stuff. They go after moths, they go after ants, they go after spiders, they go after, I see them go after pincher bugs. They go after the bugs. So it would just be a question as to what kind you're going after. Now, I did, when I going through my fly issues, I did look at different options for that. And I am going to do a video probably in a couple months after I kind of have a full circle going on. But I have I was looking at, is it permethrin? And that just looked like something that I didn't want to deal with. People use it in their chicken coops. I would assume people can use it in their quail areas as well. But I would take a hard look at the back of that container and make that decision for yourself. What I ended up doing is I ended up using where is that? I don't know if someone can find the Good Neighbor. I don't think I have it on here. I have a Good Neighbor number that you can use. But fly predators from Spalding, they have, it's 3 species of wasp, and that is specifically for flies. And you give them your zip code, and they'll send you things accordingly, time wise, and you might put down how many animals you have, and all of that. Don't think I put it on my website yet. That's what I'm checking. Yeah, I didn't put it on my website yet. It's in my short about flies. Anyway, you can look that up. I have a short about fly predators. It has the link in it. And so that's what I went with. And then I'm also using Quick Strike outside of the aviaries. So I don't really want my birds to eat that. And maybe they're eating a couple of the flies that, might fly away and go in there. But the bulk of the flies that are being poisoned are outside of where they're going to be eating it. And honestly, the possum has been cleaning that up. So apparently it's okay for possums. I'm not advocating that, but it's still alive. So that's what I've done for flies, and it's been working, and it takes a while because the adult flies live for a month. So it does take a while for that. And what these do is they actually go into these little tiny wasps. You should go on my page and look at that maybe I can put a link here. Look at that short, and I don't know how long ago it was. So that, here it is. It's fly predators. Get shareable link. Okay, here is a shareable link. Fly predators. And so I'm combining those two practices of getting rid of the adults with the quick strike, which we are actually like drawing in with. I've let some eggs go bad, go rotten, and we put that on there. Or we have used quail guts to put in these containers and then sprinkle the bait over it. And that seems to attract them better than just the bait. I know that Zach with My Shire Farm said that he just put it on the floor of his quail barn, and that quick strike is the name of that. And that actually did enough for him. I think there's a difference when you use it inside and outside. Outside, it seems like they need to be attracted to it a little bit more. So that's what I did, is combined the quick strike outside of the aviaries with the fly predators, which are little wasps that actually go and parasitize the pupa of the flies. So they actually, and then they never get to be flies. So that's what I did, and we can see what other people suggest as well. But we do need to know what kind of insects that you're going after. Silver Creek says, howdy y'all. Hi Silver Creek, welcome. JJ says, will acorn squash do the same as pumpkin for worms? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, they will like it. It won't hurt them. I don't know the research behind that. I just know pumpkin is good for it, and I don't know how much of the squash family might also be good for it, but go for it. They'll eat it, and they'll be good for them. Steve says sand bath is also very effective against parasites like lice, fleas, and mites. Just sand bath, Steve? I have a sand bath. I know it keeps them clean, and I know they do bathe in it, and it is a bath. But yeah, that's a good question. Hey, Danielle is here. Welcome. Hi, I'm a little late because of the storms affecting internet. Where are you, Danielle? That storms are a thing this year, aren't they? Ticks or mites is what Chad says. Okay, so I think we talked about that. As far as killing them, I mean, I think the quail would actively hunt ticks that they see. They do actively hunt insects. Mites, on the other hand, might be a little too small. And again, diatomaceous earth is something that I would use directly on that area. There might be ways that you can use it by sprinkling it on, where it's not like a bunch together, because the harm is when it gets kicked up as dust, right, where they're going to inhale it. If it's just on the ground sprinkled, it might be okay. And then again, you can look at things like permethrin. I think I'm saying that right. Yeah. Bob says food grade diatomaceous earth. Yeah. Verna says, hey, Danielle, we don't take attendance. We don't, not yet. JJ suggests tiny quail flea collars. JJ, if you would like to invent that, you might have a market. Dawn says, pumpkin seeds ground for dogs get rid of worms. Yep. So pumpkin seeds are going to be too big for quail, but you can grind them, and I'm sure, will eat them. They eat all sorts of things. Steve says diatomaceous earth must be food grade, not for insect control. And I've heard this, and I don't know why. Do you know why, Steve? But I have heard that. Chad says, I'm just at a point I believe I need preventative maintenance. Yeah, if it's preventative, I would say clear the area around your aviary like you clear your area around your house. So if you're doing both those things, I mean, I would hope that you're doing it around your house just so you know, the most of the area that you spend time in, you're not going to be picking it up. Um, as far as ticks, I do know that there are some natural oils. Maybe JJ knows. I know there's some natural oil sprays, stuff like that. That again, read the back of the container on that. But it melts plastic. Found that out. And you can refresh an area with some oils or or other things too. And if you wanted to use the permethrin, maybe you use it outside the aviary. Again, this is just people use it inside chicken coops. People use it inside the aviaries. I did not feel comfortable doing that after reading the bottle. So again, be informed, then inform yourself again, and make your decision in an educated fashion. Yeah. So preventative maintenance, I think, just keeping things clear and away from them. And they I think that would be pretty good. Yeah. Exoskeleton. Bob saved the day with the secret word. Silver Creek says DE is wonderful for regular access to a sand bath. On our house, we use Scale-X, but there's some controversy over using that on food birds. I have no idea what that is, but that's something else you can look up. Chad, Scale-X. Bob's heard of respiratory issues from DE and quail. Yep, and chickens and all birds. And I mean, really, if you're pouring it out, you should be wearing a mask or holding your breath. Same thing if you're using rock dust. You should, works wonders on the garden, but it also works wonders on your lungs. Not in a good way. Okay, JJ says a little wood ash in the sand bath works too. Exactly, they use it for. I know it's a little acidic, so that might be too acidic for the little buggies. Yeah, Ed's laughing at you, JJ. Tiny flea collars. Hey y'all, popping in to say I love you too. So tired from being up with kids all night. Oh, and I got my QuailCon shirts today. They came out so great. Can't wait to see everyone at con. I got a tank top that Kelly specially made because I said, hey, we should have tank tops. That's what mine looks like. And there we go. All right. So yeah, I'm excited to see everyone there. Kelly is going to be at the Hatching a Home booth. She's going to have her own booth, like they're going to be right next to each other. And then Kelly and I are going to MC as well at QuailCon. Everybody's saying hi. Verna put the link for t-shirts for QuailCon. Go ahead and go there, and we can have fun. Says I use oak ash in mine. Oops, you guys jumped. You jumped. Hang on, I gotta go back. Oak has medicinal values in aquatics as well. It's antifungal and helps fish with scale issues and ick, etc. You can use oak leaves if you in fish tanks as leaf litter, and but you're using the leaves, not and the leaves and the bark and stuff, not the ash in your tanks, right? What is what's it called? Magnolia? What is magnolia leaves used for? I know it's used in tanks for something, but I don't know what for. We have a expert aquarium guy. Ask him. Yeah. Steve says normal ticks don't typically attack fowl. However, there are fowl-specific ticks. True. And they act like bed bugs living in the roost and feeding at night. Deep cleaning of the roost frequently can help. Yeah, I would think I don't think Katrina is going to show up. I'm here. Hi, Dawn. And yeah, so deep cleaning of an aviary with deep bedding becomes a little problematic because you just take everything out and put new stuff in. So I think the best thing is if he's in the preventative time period, I would continue to try and keep it preventative. I mean, another thing you can do is blowtorch right next to the aviary, and they generally don't cross, burnt land. There's no habitat for them. So, Don, hopefully you can see. Oh, let's see. Refresh your page. Yes. Bob says, I have a dust bath with play sand in each hutch, no DE. That's what I have. Yeah, so I use just play sand from Lowe's. Yeah. PJ says, guineas for ticks, LOL. Yeah, outside of the aviary. You want an aviary inside the guinea area? Silver Creek says, oak leaches what's called tannins, which are slightly acidic and makes the water look like tea, but super healthy for aquatic life. Okay, that's all, I swear. So those tannins are actually a very, very good cleaner if you want everything to be brown. Because it does dye things. So if you need something clean, but you don't want to be like dealing with cleaner and you don't want to, or you don't care that it's going to look not clean, using tannin water. So it's like basically soaking. And that's also, tannins is also what you leach out of the acorns. So I have made acorn flour a couple times. It's, in my opinion, not worth the time it takes to do. If it was, I can understand how back in the day, if that was your job, is to provide the flour for the family or to provide the flour for the community, and you sat and you talked and you pounded and all that, then I could see that would be worth your time. It is tasty. It's a little nutty, a little good. I made pancakes, but like I had like this many corns and I got 3 cups of flour. And you do have to leach it out of that to make it edible. It's not going to kill you or anything. You might get a tummy ache and stuff like that, but yeah. That is also the reason why squirrels bury acorns. One, to store them for later, refrigerate them, but when they bury them in the ground, the moisture in the ground actually does some of the leaching. So that when they dig them up the next year, like over winter, if they can find them again, they either become oak trees, or when they get dug up, they have less tannins in it. And so that makes it more palatable for the squirrels. So there you go. Oh, you don't have a sound? Hopefully it's been fixed by now. Unmute your computer. Silver Creek says, guineas help, but they don't solve. They are some dumb birds. Okay. Steve says, I had to reload the screen when I was getting buffering and sound issues, and it resolved for me. Interesting. Hopefully everything is good now. Andy had to reload too? I'm blurry? Hopefully I'm not blurry anymore. Maybe am I blurry now? Okay, hopefully it's not blurry anymore, because I don't know what to do about that. If you're having trouble with the video, go ahead and click on the bottom part and make the quality less, and you might not be able to see, but you can at least hear. Hopefully those are, because you have your guineas. Possums love ticks. Yep, we have a possum that comes around. It's getting pretty big. The first time I saw it this year, it was about this big, and it's about like the body. It's about that big now. We have a big old mama possum. She's probably like that big, her body. That I haven't seen her in a while, but she used to come to the pond every night. Sound off. Refresh twice. Now I can hear her. Pretty sad. I can only stay a little while longer. Oh, got dehydrated jerky coming out. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Sorry, Don. You'll have to replay. But they also love eggs. Yep, they do. If you have a cracked one, you can give it to the possum. Or you can give it back to your quail. If there's a cracked egg, or if I drop an egg or something, I just step on it in the aviary and they eat it. They're not strong enough to crack the shells themselves, like chickens would. And so that's what I do, is I just let them have it and they enjoy it. Silver Creek says possums love chickens and quail too. Well, if they are safe in their aviaries, then you have no issue. Andy Rabbit says, my yard pH is 8 or above. What's a good way to bring it down faster? That's a pretty high pH. That's a really high pH. So gardening is typically like 7 is middle pH. So you have really basic soil. If you have a way to get pine needles, that is something that you can add. If you want it to fast, what you can do is you can get the bag soil for azaleas. And that's going to be at a 6.5 or 6, something like that. It's for azaleas or for shade plants. I wouldn't do that. You can also get coffee grounds from like Starbucks. If you call, I'm sure there's a Starbucks by you because there's like 50 million of them. If you call them ahead and say, hey, I'm looking for coffee grounds, can I have yours? You can actually get on a schedule. If they don't have anybody taking them already, you can get on a schedule and get all their coffee grounds. And coffee grounds will acidify your soil. So that is my recommendation, is to use coffee grounds, because I think that will probably be the fastest way. Other than that, you're going to be adding, some sort of man-made thing or bagged thing. Hopefully other people have suggestions, but I would do coffee grounds because that would be free too. I mean, they don't charge you for that. Other coffee places would do that. I know that Starbucks has a policy of doing it. And I've gotten it from them before, and then I forgot to go again because I don't go to Starbucks. Every time I do go, I have to be like, what's the thing with the no coffee? Because I'm not a coffee person. Yeah. Okay. Verna says, I got to put jerky on tonight. Awesome. I have peach puree in the freeze dryer right now. It is from our nectar peaches. So I was going to put it through the juicer first, but since we're freeze drying it and going to be blending it anyway, I don't really care if it has extra fiber. Manuel took he peeled a bunch of them and put them in a bowl and used a stick blender to blend it up. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thick nectar juice. So what we have in the freeze dryer, and we have more to go in. I have some other things I want to put in first. That would be quicker, less moisture. And then we'll do another couple rounds of that. So that'll be good. Yeah. Steve says, I like jerky. Douglas shoots them around here. Possums? Possums are good. They don't get rabies because their body temperature is too low. And they stop. There you go. Chad says, no, birds seem clean. I just don't want issues. It's summer and we are in Central Florida. At some point, I had a bug of some sort on me, possibly poultry tick, not sure. Subject change. I keep a bug zapper. If you put it in the aviary, the zap bugs will go down and they can eat the bugs. That's an idea. Free protein. They are tasty. Are we talking about possums? Never had it. Bug zapper in the aviary, and you blow it out as a treat for the birds. Yeah. Yep. Fried bugs. Andy. Do chicken and quail eat Japanese beetles? That is a fantabulous is what the word is going to come out of my mouth. It's a new word. We can use that now. That is a fantabulous question. I don't know. I know they taste nasty. You want to hear my nasty story? When I lived in Illinois, One of my coworkers was cleaning out her freezer and she was giving away all sorts of stuff because she had to clean it out to put more stuff in, right? So she had grown raspberries that she froze in, gallon Ziploc bags. And so she gave me one of those. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to turn down a gallon Ziploc of frozen raspberries. So I would use them on like yogurt, kind of as a dessert, frozen berries on yogurt. And they were super, super good. Until one time I bit into one. And you know how a raspberry is shaped like this? Well, they're perfect size for one of those Japanese beetles to fit inside. And it tastes nasty. Don't eat them. I don't know the answer to that. If I was a bird, I wouldn't eat them. Andy Rabbit says that brand works good and fast. The Quick Strike? Yep. Thanks, Verna, for putting that in there. Silver Creek says, I just made a short on squash vine borers. Speaking of squash. Yeah, we don't have them here, luckily. I know a lot of people do. I know people have put foil around the base. I know people use athletic tape around the base. There's all sorts of things that people do for them. I have no experience in that. Danielle says, I'm in northern Kentucky, right beside Ohio. And Verna says we have storms too. Probably the same storms. Dewormer. So yes, acorn seeds is good for them. Cool. Oh, Danielle had some nice hail and wind. Took out some of my sunflowers. DE for insect control can have insecticide in it. That makes sense. If you like your dog to be dipped for fleas, they will use permethrin. I use it all the time around here for various things. Yeah, I know people use it. I know people dip chickens. I suppose you could dip a quail. Actively, in the throes of, then that's where I might be more inclined to use it. Steve says diatomaceous earth. Oop, you jumped. Hang on. Diatomaceous earth that is labeled for insect control has insect control chemicals in it. The food grade can ingest without much issue. What about the ones for pools? I know nothing about that, but I know it is. Chad says, I wish I could show my quail's aviary. Chad, there are many Facebook groups, one of which is Friends of Sow and Tare. Okay, I got to click into the box. Come on. Friends of Sow and Tare Facebook group. Make sure you answer the questions and accept the rules, but that's where I post the videos that go onto YouTube and sometimes some other things in there. And then the members of that group also post other things, what their things are looking like. And, if there's continued conversation from the chat, that's where we have it, which is really good. It's been really good. It's fairly new. I don't know. Was it a month ago that I started that? One or quail lifestyle would be a good one for you to put that kind of stuff in. Newbie quail lovers is another one that would be good for that type of thing. If you can make a flea collar, a fly retardant, you can make millions. Yep. And Ed would wear with on. Yep. The problem with flea collars for quail is, they will attack whatever is strange on their covey mates. So you would end up killing your quail. Maybe, Verna. I mean, they say they don't really do that for the leg bands, though. So, all right, I'm going to do my topic of the night, and then we'll go back to this topic because it's a really good topic. So a lot of you know that we had a breeder rabbit, Meatball, and she passed away giving birth. We had 8 little babies that she left us, and so we spent time, had fed them and cleaned them and eaten their placentas and pulled fur and made them a nice little cozy nest. And then I'm assuming it's between those 8 and then the 3 that didn't, that came out later and they were stillborn. I'm assuming there was a break in between the 2. When I came, she was already gone. But they'd have their first milk, which is really important. And so we tried to feed them and take care of them and keep them comfortable. And it was really, really successful till on Wednesday we lost a first one, and kind of kept losing some along the way. Sunday, the last one passed. So we do not have any of Meatball's babies alive. I don't know exactly what happened. It may have been, what was it called? People don't use bottles. This is my first experience, so this is not an expert's talking about this. This is my first experience dealing with this and what I did and my thoughts about it. So those little baby bottles that they get for kitten, when you buy kitten replacement milk, they give you baby bottles. They don't give you, you got to buy it. And that I have heard is too much milk at once and they can aspirate really easily. So the advice I was given was to use makeup sponges. And so we use out of there. Something else that we did is we bought, oh, hang on. Uh-oh. Where are you plugged in? Hang on, guys. I gotta untangle cords here. Okay. So this is a candle warmer. And what we did is we made the milk in this. And then we have warm water in the actual thing where the candle goes. And then this is a heater. And that kept the milk warm while we were doing that. Because what we discovered very quickly is that the milk would get very cold very fast. Sorry, I had to plug in what I unplugged. It would get very cold very fast. And that seemed to work. So if you're doing something with milk for animals or for something else that you need to keep warm, that method works. But even with the sponge, some of them were so eager to get it, they just suckled it right in. Rabbits are obligate nose breathers, so they breathe through their nose. If any little bit gets in there and gets in, inhaled, or maybe it's inhaled through the mouth into the lung, then that can be, and that's how they aspirate. I don't know if it was that or something else. They seemed to do a little bit of convulsing. It was very sad. I mean, when they started doing that, I knew that it was close to the end, so I kept them close. When it's down to 3 on Saturday, 2 of them didn't eat very well in the morning, and one of them ate fine. And so I expected that we were probably going to lose 1 and maybe 2. And so I brought them with me. I went up to an art studio event, and I actually brought them with me. They lived in my bra during the event, and that it actually worked really well, because what I was afraid would happen is that 1 or 2 would die, and then this is one that looked really healthy would die because it was too cold. They go off of body heat, and so I did go there, and I kept and it would reposition. I was waking up a lot on Saturday night. But it would reposition and move around. I always make sure, it was good. And it kept it warm and all of that. It was a really good solution for 1 rabbit. And then it was late morning, early afternoon yesterday that it passed. So if people have had this experience, so only if you've had it, because I know some people might say, oh, people say do this, people say do that. I kind of want to hear from people if you have had to raise baby rabbits from birth, because that's the other thing, is from birth. It wasn't like, a week old. What are specific things that you may have done differently than what I did that was successful? So there you go. We're going to go back to our other conversation while people respond to that. Danielle says, I have an aviary setting question. My birds are doing great and thriving. I am raising for meat and eggs and planning to process at 8 weeks. I don't have separate areas for grow outs currently. Will this cause major production issues or will they be okay? Should I separate the aviary into 2 sections? So Danielle, what I would say is I used to do that. Now I have 2, and I raise in a quail mobile. I made up this thing. If you add them to the flock, and I have some videos on how I add to the flock. It's not a flock, it's a covey. How I add to the covey. There's some videos on how I do that, but the most important thing I think is to keep the birds busy. And so what I do is if you have deep litter, I'm a strong believer in deep litter. Flip it over the entire thing like in the evening, and then add your birds in the evening. That gives your new birds something to be distracted by, and then they go to sleep, and in the morning they're all friends, right? So I've done that with adult birds without issue, and I've done that with younger birds without issue. The advice that I would give if you are raising for meat is to put them in with the older ones, and mark them. Mark either the older ones or the younger ones, because they will get close to the same size. Mark them at that point. If you do use a leg band, don't use the stretchy. If you have jumbos, don't use the stretchy ones for very long. Like I think for temporary identification for jumbo, when they're growing, their legs grow more than the hand expands. What I would recommend is, I gotta go this way now, guys. What I would recommend is to get some of these. These are just those, key things. And you cut it so that it's like 3 or 4 twists, and you use that as a leg band, because when they grow, it will just untwist a little bit. So that is a much better thing than the other ones. The other ones are perfect for, hey, I just need to identify someone to separate it out. I don't care. I just need to be quick and easy. Just know that if you put them on jumbos, it can actually dig into the leg. So if you are using those, make sure you actually your birds, from time to time, to make sure that their legs are not growing around that, because that's very sad and you feel really bad. I did that one time and I'm like, okay, not going to use these again. Not for a long time, at least. Yeah. So let me find where we are again. So you should not have any issues. You might start to have issues depending on how many you have and what the space is. You might start to have issues once the males get older, but it shouldn't, in general, it shouldn't be an issue. When the males get older, they might have fights and scuffles and stuff. But what I would recommend is to add them at 3 weeks old or 4 weeks old. Anything, if you're 5 weeks and over, then the males, or all of them really, will get the reproductive hormones going. And then that's when they're seen as a threat. They're just seen as a bunch of little kids, when they come in that young. But like I said, I haven't had an issue. I think I had an issue once with one bird when I did the adults. But other than that, any bird with it was a jerk. But yeah. Started chasing them. But yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah, you shouldn't need to separate them out. The only thing that you might need to do if your boys don't have enough girls, I did this once, is I put the males in male jail because I only had 2 of them at the time. And they lived inside the aviary, inside a like dog on the bottom. You can move it around or whatever. And they had their own food and water in there. And the babies were actually small enough they could go in and out, but they were not big enough they could get out. And I did that because they were trying to mount babies. But yeah, if they have enough females, then they should be fine doing that. That is my answer. Andy says, I looked at the QuailCon shirts, but I didn't see a pink one. Uh-oh, talk to Kelly about that. You label your breeders, then you will be okay to keep them all together. Yep, exactly. Label equal band. Yep. Silver Creek says, team of biologists, botanists, and scientists have been working for the past couple of years, specifically on that topic. On the leaves, yeah. Danielle says, I have them banded. I was just worried they might introduce, speaking from my own experience and my own experience only, if you're introducing them at older ages, I don't believe that has either, but it probably, I would think, have a little bit more potential to do that. But yeah, if they're babies, I've never had that happen. The only things that have reduced production is one time when a cat made one have a heart attack. He was trying to get in, and the bird thought it was ducked, and then they all stopped laying. So they stopped laying for that. There was a reduction in eggs when I had broody mamas. There was 5, and they all co-shared a nest and were all broody, which was the only successful time they hatched that nest, is when they all shared. And that once they're sitting and they're broody, they was just out of control, and it just scared everybody into, I think it was about a week and a half of not laying. So if they stop laying, it could be between a week and a half to maybe up to 3 weeks. Typically about 2 weeks when they stop. Yeah. Danielle says, thanks so much for the help. I've said before, but I love this community. Yep, absolutely. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe now. And join the Facebook group, Friends of Sow and Tare. We continue conversations afterwards, and you can share pictures of what you're talking about and all that on there. Verna's saying, are you going to QuailCon? Who's going to QuailCon? Let us know. I'm going. Silver Creek says, LOL, I had to learn the hard way to put quail in the aviary. I started out with very little knowledge about 5 years ago. Hey, it does not take long to gain knowledge, for sure. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, Starbucks is 2 hours away from me, but there is McDonald's near me. Maybe they have coffee grounds. Maybe. How are you in an area that Starbucks is so far away? I feel like they're everywhere. Like, we have them literally across the street from each other. It's ridiculous. But that's probably a good thing, right? Dunkin' Donuts, Mr. Donut, any coffee shop. Yep, exactly. I just mentioned Starbucks because I know that they actually have a policy of doing that, and like, it's not a weird question for them. Yeah. Silver Creek says coffee grounds are great, but they are only a source of nitrogen mostly. You also need other minerals and nutrients as well, like phosphorus, bone meal, and potassium, and electrolytes for the roots. Yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Another thing to do is, if you wanted to, you could actually test your soil for other things. I used to work for a soils lab a couple seasons in Illinois, and they do electrophoresis. Is that right? That's not right. That's for DNA. What am I talking about? Is it chromatograph? They burn it, and the flame is different colors. And what is that thing called? Anyway, and they would test for all sorts of nutrients, and we would get samples from all over the place, and they would tell you what you need to add, to bring it up to where. Yeah. Or your local convenience store, aka gas station that sells coffee. Yeah, anywhere there's coffee, you can get coffee grounds. And Verna says, or if you are a coffee drinker, you can use your own spent coffee grounds. I think she's talking about her whole property, though, Verna. That would be a lot of coffee to drink. Rabbit says, I'm about early for donut shops. Well, you can go afterwards. Yeah. Danielle says, yes, I am. You're going. Awesome. And all my boys are coming with me. Can't wait. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. There's so reduced pH if you know anyone with eggshells. There should be a wink, wink after that. She has quail. If you, so I, in the past, have ground, before I had animals, I would bake those so they didn't have any, this is from the store. You don't have to if it's from your own, yard. But I would bake them and powder them or grind them to almost be powder. And then you can use that. That's another thing you can use around your aviary if you wanted to. It does cut, if you don't powder it, if you leave it a little bit. That's another thing that might keep away insects. But I would put that in with tomatoes and stuff like that. So that's something to think about. Wonderful, Danielle. Verna says, Silver Creek says, I cheat and mix my coffee grounds with eggshells and put them in I mix them together so that the eggshells get much smaller, makes it more dissolvable and more absorbable. Yeah, so that's another thing is once you put something on your plants or in the ground or whatever, it has to be broken down by the microbes, by the soil biology, in order for it to be taken up by plants. And so the health of your soil is really important, can occur. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, only ever drink coffee in cold months. You're going to have to go around to your neighbors. Steve says, possum is good with sweet potato and biscuits. Yum. It's greasy. I have not ever had that. Yeah. Fantabulous. You like that? I make up words sometimes. How else do we get language, right? Andy Rabbit says, Steve, I don't know anyone with any eggs. Oh, boy. Oh, so is muskrat. I've not had that either. Steve says, quail can eat Japanese beetle. Chickens love them. Okay. Because I will try to never eat another. I spit it out. Andy's already run through her coffee grounds. Have your friends and kids say them too. Yep. All right. I think it jumped. Hang on. Steve says, I can help you, but this is a non-sales channel. Andy Rice says, I will call McDonald's tomorrow and go talk to the gas station around the corner from me. I mean, they're just going to throw it away, right? I mean, if you can get to it before it goes in the garbage, do some dumpster diving. And if they know you're coming, then hopefully they'll save a bag for you. My recommendation on that is to bring extra containers because garbage bags at some of these places are not necessarily thick and they overfill them and they're not meant to travel. So yeah, bring like a bucket or something. Verna says, I do not have tomatoes. Going to add Epsom salt to the garden. The only thing flowering is cukes. I had my first cucumber and have only had one, and it was good. I had silver slicer. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, if I toss eggs in when I'm stirring the dirt up, maybe something will dig around for them later for me. All right. Oh, so Dawn says the coffee grounds are too close to neutral to lower the pH of soil. Interesting. Dawn, if you would like to, you can post that on the Friends of Sow and Tare Facebook group. That would be interesting. Steve says, thanks for the plug, Quail Lifestyle. Yep. Thank you, Verna, for the link. Silver Creek says, beautiful. What a wonderful way to carry on a life. I don't know what's beautiful anymore, right? I don't know what you're talking about. It's okay. Guido says, I was bummed for you when you said they didn't make it. Kits are the hardest to raise. Yeah. But thank you for your support through that. That's helpful. Yeah, it was. I was so happy because they made it several days, right? They were born on. We're talking about rabbit kits. They were born on early on Sunday, and midday Wednesday is when the first one passed. And I thought that if any were going to pass, it would be within the first day or so. But some of them were such greedy eaters too, and that, I mean, yeah. So I put the rest of the kitten replacement milk on Craigslist as free, and if someone doesn't do it, in probably a few days, I'll see if the shelters want it, because it only lasts. It says 2 months. I think it's 2 months outside the refrigerator after it's open, and then 1 month in the refrigerator after that. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, today I tried a small patch with gypsum, peat moss, quail poop, hydrated lime, and perlite. That spot is a kind of drier right now. I know the extra water is a problem. Oh, okay. It leaches things out. Is that what happens? Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Says, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear about the kits." Aw, from Ed. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, "Sorry. Remember, you did your best." Yeah, the last day of the ones, on Saturday, going to the art studio, it was really funny because you get to talking to people, and the person, the artist who was a featured artist, she's up there still. So Saturdays and Sundays through August, Mare Island Art Studio in Vallejo, California. That is Saturdays and Sundays through August from noon to 4. It's open, and she has some really, really cool art. I did a short recently, on Saturday, that you guys can check out to see the types of art. But if you're close, or if you want to make a trip, I mean, it's pretty awesome art. But anyway, so I was up there, and you get to talking to people and all that, and you say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I tell them what I do, and they go, "Oh, you raise rabbits?" And then I pull out a rabbit, and as my friend said up there, when I texted him the next day and let him know that the bunny passed, he said, "Never has a rabbit brought so much joy and surprise to people." So I mean, people were little baby rabbits, and they had many, many prayers. Everybody said that they're going to pray for it. Yeah. John's here. Good evening. Good evening, John. Silver Creek says, "Do you have any experience with exotic parrots like African greys, etc.? We're going to be adopting one next year for our home." I know people who have had them, and they last a long time, so make sure you do want them. You may be having them in your will. No, I do not. I know they talk, and you cover them at night to make them think it's night and to make them go to sleep. That's pretty much it. The containers that I use for the quail and the chicken for their grit is actually a parrot. I don't know what it's called, but it is a container that has a flat, it has a bolt, and then it has a flat part on the bolt, and then a wing nut on the other side with a flat part. And you put that in there, and it's on the hardware cloth. Or actually, I did drill a hole into the sandbox, and it's actually on the sandbox for the quail. But that's something that's pretty cool that they make for parrots for their food. Yeah. Other than that, be prepared because they last a very long time. They get old, really old. Andy says, "I have put newborn kits that did off mom with another rabbit, that had 3 weeks old. And then a week later, I had to give that mom another set of newborn kits and remove her first litter after I had put the second set of newborn with her. Wow. Yeah. So Tortellini had kits that were 4 weeks old, and I talked with her. I'm going to be doing a video about the whole experience. Take a while to put together, but I had a conversation with her forehead to forehead. I'm hoping that she'd pick up on, tone and need. And I had the nest box in there with her. And she did jump in and she checked on them. And then she did actually cover them up. And I don't know if she was burying them or caring for them, but I was unable to get her to nurse them. I tried when she laid down, I tried putting a baby on her and she was not going to have it. And I mean, I didn't try actually like forcing her and holding her down because I didn't feel like that was something I should be doing. But yeah, if she was younger, she might. I tried telling her she's the grandma of these babies, but she didn't seem to matter. Andy Rabbit is suggesting to Silver Creek that Dawn would be a great person to ask about the bird. All right. Diana's here. Welcome, Diana. Hello. Sorry I'm late. That is okay. We have had conversations about the baby bunnies and conversations mostly about ticks and mites and aviaries and insects and DE and I don't know what else. Oak leaves. Welcome. And Diana's going to QuailCon. Awesome. Steve says, woohoo. Oh, and Steve's going to be the welcoming committee. Steve and Verna, depending on the time of day, they're going to be in the welcome tent at QuailCon. That's good. Bailey Smith, welcome, Bailey. Thank you for coming. A school might give their coffee grounds from the teacher lounge. That is true. Yeah, and while you're there, you can sell them some eggs. Yeah, welcome. Andy Rabbit says, Katrina, I'm in the middle of nowhere and nowhere. Heck, the closest Lowe's is 45 minutes to an hour drive from me, so is Popeyes. That's your definition of civilization is Lowe's and Popeyes, huh? Hey, sometimes that's pleasant, right? Bob says, lucky you, closest Lowe's and Home Depot for me are 125 miles away. Wow. John is sleeping with his eyes open. All right. I got to scroll back up because you guys just again. Andy Rabbit says, we just got them. Oh, you just got them that close a few years ago. Okay. Steve says, instead of asking neighbors for a cup of coffee, ask them for a cup of spent grounds. I bet Verna could send you a truckload of spent grounds. Andy says that will be great use for hatch eggshells. Yeah, you could use it for that for sure. And laughing at Steve. Steve says, if you ask someplace to save grounds for you, please go frequently to pick up. It will mold fast and get stinky. And they will be more likely to remember that you actually want them if you do that. Good point. Even better, if you want to leave them a bucket or something with a lid, that would probably be better because that would be better for them to transport, or better for you to transport than just switch out buckets. I don't know what is allowed in, places with food, but I would ask that question. Andy Rabbit says, I have McDonald's double bag coffee grounds for me in the past. I take the filter and the paper filters. Yeah, that is fine to put in your garden. Verna says, I treat coffee grounds like I treat eggshells, put them in the oven. As the oven is turned off after baking, dries them out. That's a good thing. Andy Rabbit said, I fed my coffee grounds to my worms this winter. That's also a good idea. That is also a good idea. You get faster compost that way. Bailey says, I've lost so many kits recently. I've stopped over the summer, but we took in a batch of someone else's breeders, and they have all been terrible mothers. Uh-oh. That is not good. The thing about Meatball is she was the best mommy in the world. Like, she loved being a mom. You could just tell it. And it was so great. Like, she did everything right. She spent time with their babies. When when they were out of the nest box, she would always like lay by the food and be a little step for them, and she always check on them and all that. And she was just a really, really good mom. It was funny. One time, one litter there was, and she always had litters like between 9 and 11. And they only have 8 teats, right? There was one time there was one baby that was smaller. She had so many that she had big ones and small ones, right? So she had one baby that was smaller, and it would always go to the bottom of the pile, which means it got a little, pee and poop on it. And I took it out and I showed it to her. I'm like, Mommy, this needs to be cleaned. You need to wash your baby. I put it back. And then when I went back later, it was all clean. She cleaned it all up. She was a good mom. And her sisters are the ones that we kept back for breeding. They'll be starting in the fall. And Manuel has been feeding for me because I've been doing all these other things. So he's been feeding for me in the evenings. And I went out the other day and noticed that those girls were getting a little chunky. So I told him, how much are you feeding? And he told me, I said, you need to cut it back. Yeah, because if they get too pinch off the fallopian tubes, we don't want that. So I'm hoping that they are good mommies as well. And I've never had a first-time mom. So, well, I guess ZD might have been a first-time mom. In her record, she was a first-time mom when I had her. Yeah, but yeah. So hopefully they are better mothers. I don't know how to make them better mothers. Verna says it's sad, but that is what some people without morals do, is pass off their rejects instead of processing them. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, is that you might, process, yeah, so that you get good moms. Berta says, hugs, that will be a hard video for you to edit. Yep. And it'll take a while. I'm planning to have it for Sunday, but if it's not Sunday, it'll be later. I wanted to do something for Meatball too, and it's just taking care of the babies and then like having everything go wrong and dealing with everything else and dealing with the peaches and all that. It just wasn't going to happen right now. Andy Rabbit says, using hatch eggs gives me more reason to hatch more. Yeah, maybe I should get a worm kit. Verna, they are wonderful and they make such great, it's called black gold, right? Yeah. If you start one, what I recommend for starting, I only have one video on vermiculture. I think it might be 2, but you can look up on my channel, vermiculture. Look for vermiculture, and it will be. I'll have some information in there about that. But definitely the hardest thing when you get started is to get the moisture right. And then once you get it right, it can maintain itself pretty well. But if you don't have a paper shredder, get a paper shredder. I thought I was going to be tearing stuff all the time, and I end up getting a paper shredder because that's a lot of paper. You can also use leaves if you wanted to use leaves instead for your browns. Yeah. Berna says, I have chicks I have to put in a brooder either tonight or in the morning. More hatch than I thought would. Awesome. That is awesome. I have eggs in the incubator. I knew I was going to do it, and then I didn't. And then we had this bunny thing, and then it just didn't happen. So these got put in on Saturday. I need to look at notes. It's only Monday, guys. Yeah, and then I did get some ordered a Brancia and it said that something happened in shipping, and it Brancia is a brand of incubator that's supposed to be really, really good. And so apparently they're going to or something. I don't know what's going on. But I did get some small Brancias for I'm going to be starting my hatch kit rental stuff here shortly once everything gets here. And so that's actually what you're on top of now. You're on top of an Amazon box. Yeah. Buster's laughing at Andy. Verna says, Katrina, I got bit today, and that dang cooey drew blood. Ooh. I have to process all but 4 I have in a holding and my breeders. Wow. I'm sorry. Andy Rabbit says, a worm tower is a good thing, even if they are moldy, coffee, old potting soil, paper, cardboard, quail poop, rabbit poop, just about everything, fast compost. I've never put manures in there. I don't think, from what I've heard, manures is not something you should put in there, but I did not talk about specifically quail or rabbit poop. So if you have experience doing that and it breaks down, that is great. I would say the one thing that, so you're not supposed to put meat, cheese, dairy, breads, or citrus in there. The reason for citrus is because of the, when you peel an orange that, it sprays, it's a specific acid in it that repels the worms. So it's not necessarily bad for them. They're just not going to do anything with it. And you would end up molding. Now, would it break down with everything else? Yeah. And then I would also not put in ginger, because I have had that mold a couple times. They don't break it down. They don't eat it. That's okay. Yeah. Oh, and eggshells. You put eggshells in there too. Yeah, they'll break down. So they're not going to be eating the eggshells. Other microbes that are in there might be breaking that down, because you're going to end up with other things in there. So they also do not eat seeds, but they will eat seeds once they have sprouted. So you can actually sprout seeds in your vermiculture, which is pretty cool. Bailey says most had ear mites, and these are talking about rabbits, and the infection was too bad for some, so we lost them. But the rest that were treated have had these problems. We'll be processing in 2 weeks. Blessed to have the food, though. Yeah. I haven't dealt with ear mites yet. From what I hear, if you catch them early, any of the like olive oil or something like that will be fine to drip down into the ear. But I haven't dealt with it. And I know that they make a veterinary grade, medicine for that as well. Yeah. Where it says, or wood chips from the quail cage in the vermiculture. I don't know about that. I think the oh, you mean, okay, I get it. Sorry, you're talking about the wood shavings, right? For your trays. Yeah, you can put that in there. That will be your browns and your greens. I was thinking wood chips, like in my aviary. I'm like, I don't know about that, but the wood shavings, yeah. Bailey says the moms that won't go in the meat hawk or literally throws them out of the nest boxes. So sad. Can't sell them. I feel, feel right about that. So they throw them out, or are they like, did you see them throw them out, or are they latching on to a teat and when she hops out, they come out with her? Because those are two different things. But in any case, it sounds like maybe that's time to process and start with some good quality rabbits. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, yes, Verna, and passed away. Baby quail disappeared fast too. In your worm bin. Interesting. Because I've always heard not meat. And the reason for no meat and no dairy and no bread, the reason for that is that the home the home level of compost or vermiculture doesn't get hot enough, and that can cause issues. So, but if they are actually eating that, then that is a good, if you know they're eating it and then you know it's processing well, then that's fine. But that is the reason why, is it doesn't get hot enough, and that's why you're not supposed to put it into regular compost piles either, is because it doesn't get hot enough. Now, your compost piles could get hot enough, but people advise not to, because most people don't have that hot. Verna says those are Lucy treats. Yeah, the quail that passed away. And Verna got the French plate I talked about. Yes. So have you used it yet? They're awesome. They're so awesome. If you guys haven't seen the video yet, it was a video on making a marinade for quail, rabbit, and chicken. And I use a French plate, which is otherwise known as a garlic grater. You can grate nutmeg on it or ginger. It's really, really, really useful. And it basically takes out the fibers. Like if you grate ginger on it, you know how ginger has the fiber strings. You can get it without the fiber, and it's pretty good. Andy Rat says I powder eggshells for grit. Do you powder their grit does? But if you make them small, it probably does. In any case, it would be providing the calcium. Dawn saying good night. Have to get the jerky out of the dehydrator. Good night, Dawn. Thank you for staying with us. Everybody saying good night. Bailey says tea tree oil and coconut is what we used. Caught early enough, it does great. Yeah, that's great for the ear mites for rabbits is what we're talking about there. That is good. So the coconut oil, is that something you have to rub in, or do you melt it and then it goes on and then like, does it solidify? Because I know coconut oil at room temperature is solid. So I'm just curious how that works, or if you mix them and that makes it a different consistency. Andy Rabbit says, I had a friend call me one day and said, I'm bringing you some quail and a worm tower tomorrow, a little while back. The worms must be producing now because I am seeing more worms moving now. Awesome. So the first time I harvested worm, the worm, not compost, what was it called? Castings, the worm castings. I tried to get every single worm out. I tried to get every single little casing out. That's where the baby worms are going to be born or hatched. And I tried that, and boy, it took a long time. Now I don't bother. I know I keep some in because I have, in different tiers. I keep some of them in. If the worms want to go live in the yard, they can go live in the yard. I'll get out what the masses that I get out. If there's some that I don't get out, they can go live in the yard. And that's been working great for me. Actually, I think it's time to do the worm compost. I need to do that soon. Probably won't happen for a couple weeks though. Verna, you haven't tried it yet? All right. Let me know how it works when you try it. It works really good for ginger and garlic and really a whole lot of things. Yeah. Bailey says I melt it in the sun. Okay. Does it solidify again on the rabbit, or is the rabbit temperature warm enough that it just keeps it liquid? And Verna says I could make my own worm towers. Yeah. So you can make your own worm towers with like any sort of container. You could do, plastic totes would work, and you just make it so that you have at least 2 levels, preferably 3 would be better. That way you can have broken down compost on one and then breaking down compost on the next. And the thing about worm compost is you think it's broken down, wait a few months, because then it's going to break down even more. And in the bottom is the leachate. So that's the worm pee and the liquid part of, the things that decompose goes down there. And if you put a spout on that, then you can put that into a container and you can take it out, and you can actually use that on your garden. It's a bit controversial to do that, but you can. And what I do is I kind of broadcast, and then I broadcast again with some water, and do it that way. I always keep that valve open on mine and a container underneath. That way it drains as needed. Unfortunately, they didn't make it so it slopes the floor, and they should always make it slope the floor. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. There you go. I'm going to put up a link if I can get it. Oh, come on. This one. Let me try and get it. Okay. Copy and paste. This is my affiliate link for Quail University. Computer's slow tonight. If you haven't taken Quail University yet, the Quail 101 course is out. There's going to be more courses to come in, don't even think about it until after QuailCon, right? But Quail University is really great, and the Quail 101 course has over 8 hours of instruction video. It has materials, it has spreadsheets, it has so much information. And we're talking on here like this. I know Zach does lives and he talks, takes questions and stuff like that. But you can find all the information online. You can, but it is all in an organized place that you can reference. It's $49. You have it for life. If you need to reference it again, you have it for life. And I highly recommend it. I really, really do. It's a great course. So I would sign up for that. If you use that link, I get a small kickback, and that would help me out. And there are hundreds of people that have gone through the course. It started last year, or this year. Well, this started last year, and there's just tons of people that have gone through it, and it's an awesome course. Yeah. And if you're on here, you can tell us what you thought of Quail University if you took it. For the people that haven't taken it yet, so they know it's not just me, it's other people on here as well. Steve is saying, get your education on Quail University, which is good. Yeah. So I wanted to plug that because it is good. We're coming up on QuailCon. And I think, honestly, if you go through that course going into QuailCon, you're going to have a much better understanding before you even go to the speakers and all of that. And I think that having that background going into that will be beneficial. Not required, but it is beneficial. It's a course that you take at your own pace. And then you have the option of doing additional small group conversations. I think that each conversation is like $10 or something, with Zach or Jasmine, Zach from My Share Farm and Jasmine from Time and Timber. They're the two instructors for Quail 101. And so I think that is a really, really good and valuable thing. Verna is saying, and you don't have to spend all 8 hours at once, like I did. Yeah, she zoomed through that course. You can take a few hours or a few minutes at a time, whatever time you have to spare. Yes, and you can also do out of order. You don't have to do, like, if you just got quail and you're like, I need to know what to do with feed, you can skip all the history and skip all of the, whatever else, and go, what do I feed this thing? And if you, forget about something, you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? You can go directly to there and do that. And you'll have that reference forever. And it's an active document. So, not really document, but it's an active course. So if there's updates, you get the updates. You don't have to pay for the updates. They just come to you, and there's emails that Linda will send out for Linda with Quail University will send out with updates. It's already been updates. People ask for things to be added, or what about this? And if there's a change or if there's an update, you'll get that without any additional fees. So that is pretty cool. Andy Rabbit says, my first worms ever were in an old freezer that was under a rabbit cage. We had some fishing worms left over. I dumped in it. A while later, we had to scoop some poop out of it, and it was full of worms. So you're talking about earthworms. Yeah, the ones in the and that's good to know. They do eat that. The ones I'm talking about are called red wigglers, and those are specifically the ones to use for like kitchen scrap type stuff. Yeah. 100% rabbit poop and nothing else. That is cool. How much later did you do that? Like, how long did it take them to break it down? That's a question. Steve says, had Quail University been available, it would have saved me hundreds of hours watching conflicting information. There's a lot of stuff out there. And that's something I say all the time is whenever you're researching something, look for at least 3 reliable sources. And if they're all saying the same thing, that's probably right. I say that about my own stuff. If you're looking for something that I'm doing, you're like, I don't know about that. That seems a little weird. Look and see who else has done it and make an informed decision. So yeah, same thing with that information. Andy Rabbit says that's around 1996 or 97. You still have worms in there? Bailey says, good night, y'all. Past 10:30 here in Florida. Great conversation. I'm glad I caught at least a part of the live chat. Great timing. Bailey, it's been good to have you. And if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button with the bell notification so you get all the videos. And we do this every Monday. Welcome. Steve says there are also opportunities for special question answer sessions with instructors. Sometimes it has even been one-on-one. Yes, that was what I was talking about. I think they're $10, but that is the extra part because it is live. But yeah, it's awesome. Verna says, have a blessed night, Bailey. Andy says, I'm now saving the powder from the rabbit feed now for the worms. That is awesome. I have my rabbits, most of them, over the chickens and I have my rabbits over the chickens and over quail. And sometimes when the ladies dig out the pellets, because when they start digging out pellets, what I immediately look at is, is there powder built up in there? Yeah, because usually there is. Sometimes they're not, and they're just being ornery. But the quail and the rabbits will actually eat those pellets, and that's fine for them to eat. It has, it's greens and some minerals. And they will also eat the sometimes eat some of the dust when I just scoop it out of the feeder. But since I have them on deep litter, that goes right into the compost, and it's doing really, really great things. Because if you just throw it away, you throw it away. And like Andy said, you feed it to the worms, you're feeding it to the worms. So that's really good. Yeah. Let's see. Brenna says, yeah, that's about all I will have to purchase, Katrina, is red wigglers. Yeah, and red wigglers are really, really great. And what I recommend, I don't recommend going to get them online or get them like that. They would come in a package and they're all like bundled up and they're fine. That would be fine. What I would recommend is to see who's in your area. And hey, Verna, you have quail eggs. You can trade, right? You don't have to buy that. You can trade. And you will have, maybe a new customer, and you'll also have a resource. So when you do things like trading worms, I got my worms originally from a coworker friend of mine, and my first try failed. Okay, it failed. And like I said, you have to get the moisture right for a worm colony. And once you get the moisture right, you're golden. But it might fail. And part of that I recommend is to get it from someone in your area and ask them for, about that much of whatever the substrate is, what they're currently in, because that will have the right pH, that will have the right moisture, it will have all the right things for you to start with. And when you get them in the mail, I've never had it, but I have considered doing it before I found out that my friend had them. When you get them in the mail, they come with like bedding that's peat moss and coconut coir, and they say, oh yeah, throw some soil in there, but it doesn't already have that moisture content. And I believe that is the best. And also, if you're getting it from someone that already has them, it will also come with all the other microbes that end up colonizing that. So that's what I would recommend for you, Verna. And like I said, you have quail eggs, you have cuy. I mean, you can trade, and you have a resource, that might just be down the road to call and say, hey, what do I do here? Or it's too wet, I forgot what to do. You can call me too. You have my number, Verna. But that's what I would recommend. Yeah. And Andy Rabbit says, we buy red wigglers from fishing for fishing. They wiggle on the hook better. I think it was maybe 6 months before we cleaned it out. Awesome. And things were broken down by then. Yeah, my mom is not the best gardener, but she grows onions and peppers. Yuck. But she does grow great compost. And I don't know when she actually started doing this. I think it was when I was out of the house, but she was a kindergarten teacher, and there was a unit on worms. They learned about worms. She's really big into these little science projects, and that's probably why I'm the way I am. And so these worm projects, she got red wigglers, which wiggle this way, and earthworms, which wiggle like this, right? So their muscles go, if this is a worm, their muscles go this way, and red wigglers go this way. So it was a unit just to learn about the differences, and at the kindergarten level, right? And then when she was done with them, she's like, I have worms, I guess I'll put them in the compost. And she put them in there, and the earthworms disappeared, never saw them again. It's in the high desert. And the red wigglers have reproduced, and so she never had to buy red wigglers ever again. she just grabs them out of the compost and goes. Well, she's retired now, but yeah. Yeah. Verna says, you got 20 likes. Awesome. 22. Thanks for showing that, Verna. Bailey says, will do. Just subscribe. Thanks, Bailey. Hey, Goldshaw Farms here. Welcome. Hope you're having a great night. I am. We talked about baby bunnies that did not make it, but that is okay. We talked about ticks and mites for birds, and those are the two hot topics tonight. And I did email you. If you didn't get my email is on my homepage. But yeah, we're doing good tonight. Hope you are doing good too. Andy Rabbit says, no, I still don't have that freezer. We moved and left it. Time to get a new freezer for your bunny poop compost. Verna's saying, yeah, I will have to go on Marketplace or Craigslist to do it that way. And you might have to request it. I think people might not be saying, hey, I have worms, unless they're a business. But if you request it, then that would be a good thing. Do you have Nextdoor where you are, Verna? Because that would be another place to put it on. Andy Rabbit says, I have killed a few worm bins over the years. I have gave one to my son's teacher once. He got extra credit for his class. Awesome. So something else that happened. So like I told you guys, I got my original ones several years ago from a friend of mine that I worked with. And at some point, his worm bin failed, right? His was my source. So what happened? I gave him some worms back, right? And he didn't have to go looking around. He didn't have to, do anything. He just said, hey, can I have some worms? I said, yes, you can. What happened with his is, I believe that was when a bunch of water got in. Like, I think a lid got off, or I don't remember what happened, but there was a bunch of water that got in. So it might also take you a while to find the perfect place for your worm bin. For myself, I have it in the screen and porch. It's in an area that doesn't get rained, and it also it stays cool enough most of the time, and doesn't get cold. Doesn't get too cold because it's up against the house in the screen and porch. So there you go. Hey, my mom's here, Mary. Hi. Oh, she has a story. Are you telling us a story? She says she didn't buy the first batch of Wigglers. Let's go down and find the rest of the story, then I'll go back up. They were sell by the pound, but I told the lady at the store I only needed about 10, so she just gave them to me. Yeah, you didn't need a pound, did you? And I think you said you got it at a bait store, right? I think so. Andy says, Verna, if mine start to breed more between now and QuailCon, I could maybe bring you some. There you go. There you go. So bring her some of the substrate as well. And they'll be happy. Oh, where did you get them? She got the Wigglers at a local nursery. Earthworms came from the bait shop. Okay. Red Wigglers from the nursery and earthworms from the bait shop. I got half the story right. Saying cool. Verna's saying what, but I don't know to who. It's okay. If it was to me, clarify. Verna says, I wouldn't have to worry about that, Katrina. They would just be in the animal room. Oh, rain? Yeah. I was saying that as a general comment to whoever's listening. Yeah, I wouldn't put them outside because I think that's something that people might mess with where your garden is. Knowing what goes around where you are. Andy Rabbit says, I have a dorm fridge that I had for a worm bed. That was the one that got flooded out. I just never started another one in it. Okay. Now, for that, so my worm bin has a tap on the bottom. And I know when I've seen the ones that people make themselves, they have a tap on the bottom. And that is something that is important for the leachate to get out. How does that work when you have it in a freezer or in a fridge? Is there a spout that you do, or do you drill a hole in the bottom? Or that would be my concern in doing it in there. And it might not be as much of a concern if it's in, like you use it for rabbit poop. That might not have the water content. I mean, you're going to get pee as well, right? But that might not have the same water content as someone who's doing kitchen scraps. But that is a good question. It was me. Oh, I don't know what I said, Verna. I'm sorry. You got to rewind. Yeah, Andy Rabbit says, that's right, Mary. You only need a few to start with. Yep. And they don't take long to reproduce, and they will reproduce to the size of container that you have. So you're not going to get overcrowding with them. You're just going to get, they're kind of like goldfish, right? They only grow to the size of the container. Yeah, and something else, this is a funny story. My first, when I first had the worms, I was feeding them like, okay, I got to feed them. And what you end up, so two things happen. One, you end up overfeed them. And then it, bad things happen in there. Things start growing that shouldn't. You got to take it out at the very, very beginning. And then once it got established, I went on a vacation. I think that's when I did my 3-week vacation. I went out and I went up and saw the 3 weeks, 2 weeks, might have been 2.5. I don't know. I went up and saw the solar eclipse, the full eclipse up at my parents in Oregon. And I went and I saw Hell's Canyon and all that. And I went over to Glacier National Park Monument, whatever it is. That's where I saw my grizzly bear and baby grizzly bear, and that was an experience. And came back down, went through Heart Mountain and Steens Mountains and all that. And I had these worms that needed to be fed. And my neighbor was coming over and feeding my worms for me. You don't have to do that. If they're established, you don't have to do that. But she was so kind, and she kept my worms alive. That's when it's good to have good neighbors. Yeah. Andy Rat says I drilled small holes in it. Good. Okay, that's what I was hoping when you said that the other one got flooded. But yeah, the freezer you didn't do anything to. Probably because it's a bigger area, and yeah, that makes sense. My mom says wigglers survive Central Oregon winters in an outdoor compost bin. Yeah, so she used to have this black. What was the name of this thing? Do you remember what it is called? This black thing that was like didn't have a bottom but had a top and a lid and like vents along the bottom. And then I think now she just has just like a round thing that she puts things in. I think that's ventilated too, isn't it? Do you remember the name of that first thing that you had? And did you like it? I mean, obviously it works without it now, but was it good for starting it? And I also the deer eat out of it now too. Andy says I'm just feeding the worms on Mondays. All right. Sow and Tare live and worm day. I'm okay with this. Steve says just put a bulkhead connector in the freezer like you do in a water bucket. Go get the liquid gold. Yeah, the leachate. Yeah, that is that's a good idea. Yeah. So bulkhead is how you would do the you wouldn't have to, but I would think it would be a good idea in a larger container to do that. Do a bulkhead and then you connect you can connect anything. You can connect a tube that takes it somewhere if you wanted. Or you can connect it to a spigot using a bulkhead. And fun thing, if you're using a bulkhead, always remember they are reverse threaded. So it's not righty-tighty, it's lefty-tighty. And that is confusing to your muscle memory. Good tip. And my mom says she prefers an open bin. Yeah. So they don't have things like raccoons that would get in and distribute things around the yard. It's pretty much just deer and worms. I don't know. Does anything else get in that? I use my chickens and my quail and the worms as my waste compactors. Waste transfers. That's what I use. I used to have one of these rolly compost things, but it never held moisture. And I think it was because it had a big seam in the middle. And I really feel like it should have had a gasket there. But that didn't come with it, And so I actually ended up selling that. I told them my experience and they still wanted it. So I sold it to them. That was a long time ago. And those are too expensive for what they do. You're supposed to roll it and it churns it, but I think it's just as easy to put a pitchfork in and flip it. Yeah. Brenna says, I'm going to use the buckets. The bottom bucket will have a spout on it. The bottoms of the other buckets will have holes drilled in. Yep. That is a good plan. And then you'll have to put spacers on those so that they sit up above a little bit. And then I would put that bucket on something higher that has a spout and you can put it under it. Or you can just take off the other ones and dump it out. But it's probably going to be easier to not do that. And you can make it of any size. I mean, if you wanted to make it with like 2.5 gallon buckets, you could do that because I know your space is small. I don't know how much green waste you might have, but maybe with the shavings, you might want a bigger bucket. That's true. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, with the freezer, it was the first time ever with keeping worms. I didn't even think they would live. I just dumped them out and didn't want them to just die in the cups. Well, hey, you figured out that they do okay with that. So there you go. My mom's saying birds also get into the compost or into the worm compost pile. 5 gallon buckets. You don't want 2.5? Yeah, I forgot that you were going to put the shavings in there. And Steve's saying to my mom, I bet the birds love you. Yeah. And Andy Rabbit has advice. I would put blocks on the bottom of the bucket and no spout. Dump it when needed. Yeah. So one thing to think about with that is where you put the bucket when the leachate bucket is not there. So, she has to go downstairs to the garden to do that. And so I would just have something, put that on there, because the worms will want to go down. Maybe they won't, because worms go down if there's light above. I guess they wouldn't want to go down then. But you do want to make sure you put on, plastic sheet or something like that. Yeah. But definitely put it on blocks. Yeah. It makes sense when it leaks on the floor. I know this firsthand, just had to clean up today. Oh, makes a mess, not make sense. Yeah, well that's what I was saying. So what I do is I have a spout, and I keep the spout open and a container under it. So so that the moisture always comes out, and then when it fills up or when it's close to full, I dump it in the areas that need some extra nutrition. Yeah. So that's good. That's good. We've run the topics today, haven't we? Bugs and worms and bunnies. Yeah, that is awesome. We kicked the container over. Oh, yeah, that would make a mess, and it doesn't smell good. The leachate does not smell good. Your worm bin shouldn't stink. So if it stinks, something's off. If it has fruit flies, you need more paper or browns. So in your case, Verna, that would be the shavings. It would need more of. Shavings might take longer to break down, but I think you'll be surprised at how quickly they would break down in there once it's established. Yeah. And chicks. I don't know that I would put chicks in there. Andy Rabbit says go for it. Let us know how it works if you try it. It was a disgusting mess. Yeah. It doesn't. Okay. I know when I pour out my leachate bucket, it does not. I mean, it's not like overpowering, but it doesn't smell great. But the actual worm compost, the castings, it doesn't stink, and it shouldn't stink while it's going through. So yeah. Oh, the topic of chicks, not putting them in bucket. Okay. There you go. Topics of chicks. Yep. Who has chicks in the incubator right now? I do. I know Verna said that her chicks are coming out into the brooder soon. Anybody else have chicks in the incubator? Where's my incubator buddies? No? All right. Maybe there'll be chicks soon. No chicks for me until after QuailCon. We are getting to that point, aren't we? Manuela is going to take care of animals while I'm at QuailCon, so I can make more chicks. Andy Rabbit says, what I'm doing is putting shredded paper in 2 empty trays on the 2 bottom layers to get inoculated before I move them up to feed in. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And it is important to put some sort of layer, and I do shredded paper on the bottom. So when I clean out a layer of the worm, so we're talking about worm towers again. The worm towers have holes in the bottom so that the I almost said quail. So that the worm is the one that I like, that I have, they don't make anymore, has the leachate layer with a spout. Then it has one layer and another layer. And these 2 layers are the same. They look the same and all that. And then there's a lid. But the bottom of those layers has holes that go down, and that goes into the leachate. But with that is the most done. So that is the one that is breaking down. That's the one that's doing great. And it's going to be fabulous for you to use. And then the one above that is what it is. That's the one that is actively, you're putting things in. So you're not putting things in that second layer, you're putting it in the top layer. And while that's happening, the worms are moving back and forth between those 2 layers. Yes, they can climb. They can even climb the house. I've seen that. And so they are finishing the what was it called? The castings. They're finishing the castings in that lower layer while they also snack on the upper layer. So That's good. And then what I do when I'm cleaning out a tray of that is I actually set the top layer on the wheelbarrow, bring the next layer on top of that, and then put them both back. And I will leave it open. And what that does is they don't like light. So the worms will go down into the lower level, which used to be the upper level. It might get confusing anybody. They're going down into the active layer. And as you scoop that out into the wheelbarrow or into a bucket or whatever you're scooping out into, most of them will go down into that next layer. And whoever doesn't make it, unless I find like a ball of them, often by a avocado pit, if I find a ball of them, I'll set them aside, put them in, leave them in there. But if there's a few of them, they can go live in the garden. Yeah. 40 days to QuailCon. Woohoo! And we have a bunch of people on here that are going to be talking there. So I'm going to be giving a masterclass on quail and aviaries. Verna is giving a masterclass on intro to raising quail. And Steve is going to be at the front table. Verna will also be there when she's not, that first day, when she's not giving her masterclass. Ed was on here earlier. He's going to be giving his secrets away with the crafts. Aaron was on here earlier. He's going to be showing people how to butcher. Who else was on here? Oh, Kelly was on here earlier. She is with Feathered Connections, and she is going to be having a booth there for her stuff. And she's going to be next to the Hatching at Home booth, which will also she'll be monitoring that as well. Her and I will be emceeing QuailCon. So, yay for QuailCon. All right. Andy Rabbit has eggs in the incubator right now. Eggs will hatch the 1st and the 5th. So I think you mean to say incubators with a Z or an S. Andy Rabbit says, that's my plan too, to have somebody else watch them. Yeah, they're pretty easy to watch. They don't really need that much. And honestly, since we've had Nana in the brooder, oh my gosh, guys, they're so quiet. I still have that batch in there. They're old enough to go out, but I'm just going to keep them in there until these other guys hatch. That way, Nana's not alone. What I did last time is I processed the other ones. I left one of the females in with her. And that was really good to do because she had a companion. Like, I don't want Nana to be in there by herself. Nana is an elderly quail that went broody like 9 times and never hatched anybody. But I put her in with babies and she became mom real quick. She shut those babies up. And they are so well behaved now. Yeah. So Verna's at the front until noon. Okay. I didn't know how long you were going to be there for on the first day. Steve says Linda will be doing a master class on marketing. Yep, she will. She wasn't here though, so I didn't call her out. Yeah, and that's just on the first day. So the second day has tons and tons of talks. We're gonna there's going to be a nutritionist there. Zach's going to talk about quail for profit. Chris from Slightly Redneck is going to be talking about quail issues. Jasmine Bass from Time and Timber is going to be talking about quail enrichment. Jim, the MP-IP guy, is going to be there. Who am I missing, guys? I'm missing people. Anyway, but there's going to be a nutritionist from, I think he said Ohio State University. So from somewhere, there's going to be a nutritionist, and there's going to be so much going on that second day as well. So definitely come. And if you're close, there's no excuse because tickets are pretty cheap, and there's still tickets available. My Shire, Berna, can you put up that link? I know you have it. The My Shire farm. So My Shire, is it myshire.com? Yeah. Steve says we'll have a nutrition expert, MPIP representative, and I think Zach will be there doing something. Yeah, he's going to be doing a lot, but he's going to be giving barn tours. He's going to be selling live birds and hatching eggs. And last year, I believe he's going to be doing it this year. Just guessing. Last year, he had people help move birds from the incubator to the brooder, which is pretty special. Yeah, you get to see his whole setup in the quail barn, and he's giving a talk on quail for profit as well. George, that's right, George on breeding and more. Yeah, so George works with Zach on My Shire Farm, and so he's going to talk about breeding. And yeah, there's probably something else that I missed. Verna says, I will be at Quail University table. Awesome. And have food and candy that is freeze-dried. Yes, she does. You did that last year. It's pretty cool. Andy Rabbit, we, meaning me, can we record talks for ourselves to rewatch later? That is a question for Zach. My understanding is it is frowned upon. But that is a question for Zach, and I would ask him, you might ask that question on his Sunday lives so we all can hear the answer. Or if you want to ask it on, there's a QuailCon 2023 Facebook group, that would be a very appropriate place to ask it, actually, and tag Zach in that. Yeah, that's what I would do. Thank you, Verna, for putting up the QuailCon link. And Steve is saying yes to Andy Rabbit. I don't know what the answer is to that question, but I would ask Zach. Yeah. Many people do various recordings. Yeah. I know I can record myself. I know that. And I know some people put stuff up on their channels after. I haven't decided if I'm going to or not. I think I probably will put at least part of it. But there is something. So Zach is trying to keep the value of, he's figuring ways to keep the value of the people that go there getting, being rewarded with that information. Right. And I know that that we have talked about doing some sort of online thing, the logistics of that for I mean, there's so many things going on. The logistics of that would be really, really crazy. So I don't know how that would work. And I have no idea if there is any plan to do that for other years. I know there's no plans to do that this year. So yeah. Many people do various recordings. Yep. And you can bring a camera. Yeah. Get an SD card then. Yeah, you can record your own talks. Yeah, I know that. I just don't know what Zach's feeling is about other things. Thank you, Verna, for putting the QuailCon Facebook group. That is the appropriate place to ask that question, and tag Zach to answer it, because he will do that. I know, Andy Rabbit. Katrina is always trying to get me on Facebook. Only for quail. Only for quail. I'm just saying. You can have someone else ask that question for you. I'm not going to ask it. Someone else can. Steve's going to record portions of himself. Yeah. We can't just broadcast when while QuailCon is in effect. Yeah, I know that's definitely not something that should happen. But yeah, so if you can go, because it's an awesome time, and it is so much fun. And I mean, a lot of the fun is meeting people, right? I mean, I just like, one of the best things about QuailCon is the people, right? You meet people, you make connections, you make friendships. And I mean, I've met many of you at QuailCon, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Steve's going to ask for you, Andy. Yeah, and Verna says no live streaming while at QuailCon. Yep. Andy Rose says, I just know that the talks and classes will be full of so much stuff I will forget and would like to watch again to remember that important information. Yeah. Personally, I don't have a problem with it as long as it doesn't get, broadcast stuff. I think that's something that I agree with Zach should remain your information. If you're coming, you can take notes and you can I mean, I wouldn't think that would be a problem to record, but I will leave that in Zach's court. Good question. Steve says Andy will be there, the famous Andy Rabbit. Yep. Oh, and for those that want to know, that is Thai basil and water that I am drinking tonight. Andy Rabbit says, I agree with that too. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's just to keep it, the people that come are, they paid for an event, and I think it would be neat to have an online component. I just don't know how that would happen logistically with everything that's going on. Ticket prices would have to go up, or a lot of tickets would have to be sold for the people that would be remote. I mean, to pay for, you'd have to have like live streaming cameras or, cameras that even if you're recording everything, you have to make sure each thing is happening gets recorded, especially on the first day. I mean, there's going to be so many things happening at once. They're going to be the barn tours. There's going to be the 3 master classes that we talked about, myself, Verna, and Linda. There's going to be Melanie and Ricky are going to be doing a farm safety course. There's going to be, is it Keith that's doing something with rabbits? I think Keith is doing something with rabbits. Did I make that up? Somebody tell me. There's, I don't remember what else. There's like 2 other Dale's Quails is going to be there. He's going to show you how to build your own cage, and you can ask him all sorts of questions about that. If you don't want to build your own cage, you can actually just go to Dale's Quails on the website and buy one from him. He's really, really good. And I met him last year at QuailCon. He's really good. Who else is that day? I don't remember. There's so many things. And then on top of that, then there's other booths as well. And all of this is happening at my Shire Farm in Miamisburg, Ohio, September 2nd and 3rd. Yeah. And Papa the Builder is going to give farm tours. I went on that last year. That was pretty cool. He is the inventor of all things. You want to talk inventions with someone. He's a retired engineer, and he knows way too much. It's awesome. Verna says I will have to buy another tower for next year. There you go. Andy Rabbit, you're funny. Perhaps only a live stream at the welcoming tent. I don't know. Be for Saturday morning. Verna says, even when you buy the kits, you do have to put the parts together yourself. So Verna's talking about Dale's Quails. He does brooder kits, and he does the cage kits, and he will even do a custom kit for you if you contact him. I know he did that for Verna. And you have to put things together, but he built it. He has it so it's easy to put together. And he'll have examples of what you can do there. And I think he might be retrofitting a rabbit cage. I think that might be part of what he's going to show people how to do. So it's something that you can, find for free or find cheap and then bring in. Andy Rabbit says, oh yeah, the person that was going to do, yeah. So Keith, I think it's Keith. I think. Anyway, so that is going to happen. And then we have nutritionists and all that. So there you go. If you're not coming, you're going to be missing out. Andy says, if my dad comes, I have a feeling he will love talking to Papa the Builder. The problem with Papa the Builder is you will get pulled into a conversation that will last forever. Whether or not that's a problem depends on what else you plan to do that day. He's a good guy. He's a good guy that knows so much, and you can pick his brain, and he will just go with it. It's awesome. Steve says, I think we lost. Keith. Keith is a falconer. Is that the is Keith the reptile guy? I don't remember. Something's happening, and I'm sure Zach will give us an update on what's happening, because I know that he was waiting for some things, and I don't know if he has everybody. I think he has everybody figured out now, but yeah, cool. Yeah, I think you might be right. Anyway, something about animals eating quail. I know that last year, and he might have been Keith. I don't remember his name. Last year there was a reptile person. That makes him sound so bad. He buys quail from Zach for feeding reptiles, and that's something I'm starting to get into. I have a friend that has snakes and has encouraged me to do this. And he has some snakes that naturally would eat birds, but of course everybody has fuzzies, which are mice of different sizes, and that has a different component of different nutrition values than birds. And his snakes love my baby quail, and so he got me into that, and so I'm gonna be starting to try and expand that soon. Yeah, they're on the website. I don't have the cash the money thing figured out on the website yet, but I have it on there in the shop. Andy Rabbit said, if my dad and him start a conversation, they will talk forever then. Yep. Yeah, Zach has it all figured out. He does. Absolutely. In all of his notebooks. Steve says, Andy, that's okay. We're there for 2 days. Awesome. Papa the Builder makes me think of my dad every time I watch him. Aw. Yeah, he hasn't been on the videos in a while. For Zach's videos on my Shire Farm. But yeah, he's a good guy to talk to. Yeah. All right, guys. It is 8:20. It is 8:20. I know some of you guys are in Eastern time. It is late. Yes, true, Verna. Dennis Papa. Yeah, Papa the Builder's name is Dennis. Has a crazy sense of humor too. Yes, he does. Oh my gosh, Ed, you fell asleep? You're gonna have to rewind. Rewind like it's 1999. I don't know. When did VHSs go away? Yeah, Andy Russ says, I know I miss seeing him. You gotta talk to Zach and see if he can let him do more videos. I know that he just talks on and on and on, so it makes it so that he has to edit the videos, which takes time. But yeah. That's right, Steve. Last time we heard from Ed, he was going to take a shower, huh? Hopefully you did not fall asleep in the shower. Oh boy. He retired from videos. Oh, that's so sad. You can go back and watch the older videos. He designed a lot of the stuff in the barn, like the what they do for the poop. They have it on rollers and it rolls off and it goes on into this gutter system and it goes into a tank that then gets picked up and used for green electricity. It makes electricity, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. Nope. Thanks, Ed. So yeah, he did that. He's done, all the inventions he did, which is pretty cool. All right, guys. Unless we have anything else to talk about. I know, Ed, you just came. So what do you have to talk about? Unless we have anything else, I think we're going to call it a night soon. Andy Rabbit says, yes, a sad day when I heard that. I was watching him build something the other day again. Yeah. Yep. His workshop is a playroom. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, guys. So, the Viking house. Yeah, the Viking house was really neat that he made. He made a Viking house on my Shire Farm. All right. So tomorrow's video is going to be the intro to canning that I delayed doing because I didn't have anything to can to water bath can. It's going to be intro to canning water bath style, and that will be canning peaches. I actually did that when my computer issues were happening. So that'll be that video. If I can get it to work, I will be doing a quail stand bath video for Thursday. And if I have enough time, I will be doing a video about the bunnies for Sunday. So there you go. You have to see his like, yeah. So Ed says, Verna, he showed me the pics when they were here at my house last time. Yeah. Yeah. How many watch hours do I have? Total, I have over 5,000, but in the last year, that's a different story. You want to know, huh? Let's find out. In the last year, I have 3,133 watch hours and 730 subscribers. There you go, Verna. Hoping to share this content, watch some videos. Get me paid, right? Yeah, seeing in person, another thing. I would agree, Verna. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. Andy Rabbit says, Katrina has a few new videos I haven't got to watch yet this week. Oh my gosh. Get on watching. Some of them you can listen to. I did a yesterday's video was a garden tour. I would watch that one, not listen to it because it's a tour. But some of the stuff I know I do that sometimes is when I'm working or when I'm doing something, I'll listen to videos. And I think that works for a lot of videos. Yeah. Berta says, Katrina, then click on the earn button. No, that's what I looked up. That's what I looked up. It was a 3,000 something. Yeah. It looks awesome just in pics. Yeah, the Viking house. Yeah, for sure. It I think in person it looks pretty cool too. So yeah. All right, guys. If we don't have any more topics, I'm going to call it a night because it is almost 8:30. Andy Wright says, I play, not watch videos when I'm driving a lot. Yep. It's like listening to radio, right? Yeah. You have enough hours to get monetized. So it is. So there's two ways. I'm just going to explain this. So like there's two ways to get monetized. One is, so I actually have the thank you money sign chat thing. So if people wanted to, they could do super chats and they can do like thank you tip things on videos. And the other thing that I can do right now is the memberships, which I will do. I'm working on figuring out exactly what I want to do. I know I'm going to be doing a cook with me monthly thing. So that'll be a monthly live that I tell you the ingredients beforehand and then we cook together and chat. That would be a members only thing. And so those are the things that I can do now. And then you still have to meet the 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers to be monetized for commercials, which is, where the money is. So I hope to be releasing the option for membership for those things, probably next month. Just because I want to make sure I, understand it all and make sure I have something of value to give you. So that's what I'm hoping. So yeah. Andy Robb says, it was cool to hear from your mom, Katrina. Yes. It's good when my parents pop on. Doesn't happen all the time. They usually forget about it. But I actually was talking with her before the live and she's like, oh, I should do that. Gotta eat dinner. Yeah. So Verna says that's you get commercials, but donations can really help. Yeah. If you guys want to click that button and donate, that's fine. I feel weird asking that at this point. So, but yeah, it is there. Steve says, yes, it was nice to have Mary join us. Good. Last week it was my dad. Yep. Sometimes they watch and they don't comment. I know that too. Yeah. So that's good. Good stuff. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a night. We're getting hearts and hundreds and awesome. Good job, guys. All right, guys. So we will see you next week, Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Same channel, same place. And hopefully everybody has a good week. I'm hoping for a better week than last week, because last week was very sad. And there you go. Steve has to go collect eggs, and Verna's saying have a blessed night. Have a wonderful night, guys, and we will see you next week. Thank you for coming.